Adaptation is the name of the game for many sectors right now. For the more than 130 wineries across this province, that's already underway. Justin Chandler is our newest Ontario Hub journalist, and he'll be covering the Hamilton-Niagara region for us. But tonight, he joins us from Toronto with that story. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks.
So, Justin, you've joined TVO. You're the new recent addition to the Ontario Hubs, but I want to get to know you a little bit. I'm sure that the rest of the province does too. Can you tell us a little bit about your background in journalism?
Oh, yeah. So I started journalism when I was at Ryerson University studying in the Bachelor of Journalism program. So I worked at the community newspaper, The Eye Opener, for a number of years, and I worked in campus radio. I worked at a variety of shows at CBC Radio. So I'm very excited to be joining TVO and continuing that sort of work.
We're glad to have you on the team. Now, I want to talk about your first article that you wrote for TVO.org. You wrote about wineries having to pivot their business during the COVID-19 pandemic. What did you find was the biggest challenge for these wineries?
Well, definitely wineries are particularly vulnerable right now, given that they're so reliant on tourism, but also on restaurants. So some of the wineries that I talked to, they said 80% of their pre-pandemic business was tourism. But if you can't have people coming and visiting your tasting room, then that's a big problem. And if you can't be selling your wine to restaurants, then that also cuts down avenues of sales. So really, they've been very limited as far as where they would traditionally be selling their product.
Now, I know you spoke to a few owners in the Niagara region. They've come up with some creative ways to kind of adapt and make some changes. Tell us about a little bit about that.
Yes, so there's one winery in Niagara on the Lake called Big Head. And Jacob, who's the director of operations there, he's actually been out along with his parents who are owners, but primarily him, doing drive-by deliveries. So he's been driving, he said he did 10,500 kilometers in April, going out and delivering wine to people within the Golden Horseshoe as an effort to get their product out to people. And that was a case where they already had an online store, but now they've really had to go full focus into that. So he says he drives around in an electric car, and he does his general manager work when he's charging that. And then, yeah, he just gets his work done there, but otherwise he's on the road trying to sell and make ends meet.
So making sure the wine gets delivered and being green while doing it as well. That's pretty good. I am curious, there was something in your article that you talked about, virtual wine tours. Break that down for me. What does that look like? Have you taken part in one yourself?
Well, I watched some of one, and this one was one that they were doing at Pearl Morissette, which is in Vineland. And it was sort of an hour-long discussion where people could join in and sit and listen, and someone would be talking about the different wines and having these sort of intellectual discussions about wine that I'm not qualified at this point to understand. And yeah, just sort of a way to engage people. And other wineries talked about trying to do this too with wine club members. Just ways that they can try to bring people together. And I guess from a business point, increase that awareness and give people a new way to interact other than how they might normally at a store.
I'm curious how wineries responded, or how are they affected that restaurants are now able to sell wine as well. So I can, order some dinner and also get a glass of wine or a bottle of wine as well.
I think it's definitely helped some wineries. The difficulty in that case then is whether or not people are actually ordering. As far as I understand, some restaurants are doing better than others. So perhaps a restaurant's closed and it's got some sort of fare that people enjoy getting from takeout. I heard comfort food restaurants were doing particularly well. And in that case, maybe having a bottle of wine to add to that is something that can help people. So I think there has been an uptake in sales for some wineries. But a lot of restaurants are also not doing near the business that they were doing before. And I think takeout wine is something that would be relatively new to people. So it might be also slow on the uptick.
Now, very quickly, I am curious, when I think about wine tours, I think about people on their bikes, going from one winery to the next, or taking a bus. What does that look like? Do you have any predictions as to what that looks like post COVID-19?
Well, that's something that everyone hates when you say, but it remains to be seen. And I think that a lot of wineries, they're cautious to make any sorts of those predictions at this point. I think places would love to open up their tasting rooms, but we're seeing now people lining up outside stores in cities wearing their masks, waiting to come in, a couple people at a time. Maybe there's an option like that in the future for wineries. Maybe you're doing your physical distancing when you're going around, but it's hard to imagine it being the same experience if you've got painted lines in the grass or something and you're standing separated from other people like you are now when you go to the supermarket.
I can see the obvious challenges, of course, when someone is trying to sip some wine and has a mask on and having to constantly do that little dance there. So,
Yes, exactly.
well, Justin, I appreciate you coming on the show. And again, this is Justin Chandler, our newest Ontario Hub journalist. He'll be covering the Hamilton and Niagara region. Thanks again for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
The Agenda with Steve Paikin is brought to you by the Chartered Professional Accountants of Ontario. CPA Ontario is a regulator, an educator, a thought leader, and an advocate. We protect the public. We advance our profession. We guide our CPAs. We are CPA Ontario. And by viewers like you. Thank you.